Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Do you like large pendants? And do you like using leather cord? If you answered yes, you're in the right place because today we're going to make a Bohemian-style adjustable sliding knot necklace, and we're going to use the beads that came in the Curated Bead Box for the month of November. Now if you're not familiar with that box, I'll leave some information down below in the description section of this video, along with a coupon code and a link to the website in case you're interested. And don't forget that I always model my pieces at the end of my videos, so please stick around for that. As you can see, this necklace features a very ornate elephant pendant, along with some metal beads to complement it. And of course, I always like to take things a little further, so we're also going to be making a shorter necklace with dangles to go along with the leather necklace. And did I mention that this project is relatively easy? So if you're a beginner, you're going to love today's tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started. And here we have the Curated Bead Box for the month of November 2024. The name of this box is In the Jungle, and in spite of the name, it contained beads that were in 4 colors, except for a couple of green ones. And at first, I wasn't going to use this elephant pendant, mainly because I don't usually wear large pendants because of my frame. I have a small frame, but then I changed my mind because I realized there are a lot of people that do like them. And since this pendant had a large loop at the top, I was immediately inspired to use leather cord. And of course I had to complement the pendant with these metal beads because they had large holes, and so did these spacer beads. So let's go over the sizes of the beads and the pendant and the materials that we'll be using for today's project. Here are the materials from the box. As you can see, I have 2 types of 6mm size beads. These are called marble-style glass beads, and the color is listed as khaki with a little bit of red. But honestly guys, to me it looks green. It doesn't look khaki at all. In any case, I thought these were really pretty. Let me show you. They look like gemstones to me because of that marble style effect. I think they're gorgeous. And these are actually black onyx beads. The holes are a little bit irregular, and I think even the size varies as well, just a little bit. Let me show you. As you can see, some of the holes are bigger than others, and that's a consideration because we're going to be using some ball head pins. So when you go to look through yours, just make sure your ball head pin isn't going to slip through that hole. I'm going to purposely avoid this one, for example. And here we have this gorgeous elephant pendant. It has an open filigree design, and it measures 60 by 50 millimeters. As you can see, it has that large loop, and that's why I wanted to use leather cord today. It's hollow in the back, but I absolutely love that design. I think it's very pretty. And here we have some spacer beads. They measure 6 millimeters across. These are also listed as spacer beads, but they're actually pretty large. They measure 10 by 6 millimeters, and they're tubular in shape, as you can see. And like I said, these do have pretty large holes, so it'll be easy to fit leather cord through them. And here's the leather cord we're going to be using. It's round leather cord, and the color is vintage saddle. It's 2 millimeters thick. It has a kind of a distressed finish, as you can see, which I like. But you can use any leather cord, as long as it's around 2 millimeters thick. One thing I will say though, try not to get leather cord that's too shiny or metallic because sometimes it's a little bit too slippery. And since we're going to be doing sliding knots, you don't want the leather cord to slip out very easily, if that makes any sense. You want it to stay put, which is why I'm using a leather cord that has a distressed finish. And by the way, I did get it on Amazon. It was pretty reasonable. I think it cost $10 and some change for 22 yards. In addition to all this, we're going to be using some ball head pins, like I mentioned earlier, and probably some crimp covers to finish off the ends of the cord. I'll show you how to do that. It's pretty easy. And some jump rings and a lobster clasp, but I'll bring those out later on. So the first thing we're going to do is create some dangles. Here are some ball head pins. Let me put this off to the side. This is pretty easy. I'll show you how to do one of these first. You want to make sure, like I said before, that the ball of the ball head pin isn't going to slide through that hole. That's very important. Using my round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the pin at the top of the bead like this, bend it, and now I'm going to grab it here in this part of my pliers, and that's because I want a pretty large loop. I'm going to wrap the pin around the nose, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back. As you can see, my loop is rather large, I would say it's about 4 millimeters across. I'm going to grab it with these pliers. These are actually crimping pliers, but I like to use them because they grab really well and they have very skinny tips. With these pliers, these are needle nose pliers, I'm going to grab the tail and I'm going to do a couple of wraps. And now I need to cut off the excess, so I'm going to use my flush cutters. And of course, I'm going to tuck the tail in. That's important. So there's my little dangle. Let me show you again. I'll use one of these beads this time. Once again, I'm grabbing the pin at the top of the bead. I'm going to bend it, switch to this part of my pliers, wrap the tail around the nose, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back. I'm going to grab the loop, grab the tail, and do a couple of wraps. I'm going to cut off the excess and tuck in the little end. So there's another dangle. Very, very easy. If you're new, you may have a little difficulty. I know when I first started doing wrap loops, it was rather challenging, but the more you do them, the easier it gets, I promise you. Now I've already created a bunch of dangles off camera to save time. So let me go ahead and remove these beads. And we don't need these ball head pins. Here are my dangles. Now you're going to need a pretty long piece of leather cord, but of course the length depends on how long you want your necklace. My necklace is going to be about 30 inches long when it's fully adjusted, and of course the sliding knots are going to help you to wear it shorter if you want to. So my piece of leather cord is about, I would say 39, 40 inches, something like that. I would say cut yourself a little extra just to be on the safe side. And here's my pendant. Now you have some choices when it comes to knots. My preference for this necklace is a barrel knot, but I know that's a little difficult for some people. So I'm going to give you some choices. I've got an extra piece of leather cord here. Let me just show you. You can just slide it through the loop like this. And then you can do just a regular overhand knot. Just like that. This is probably the easiest knot to make if you're a beginner. So you can do this kind of knot if you want to. The only thing I don't like about this knot is that it doesn't really sit straight above that loop, and that's not the ideal. Let me remove it. The other option is to do this kind of thing. I don't know what it's called, but let me just show you. I can't remember the name of it. There's a name for this. You're going to thread both ends like this through the loop, and then you're going to slide the ends through the leather loop and pull. I really like this knot. It's easy, and as you can see, it sits right on top of that loop. It's pretty centered, so you can do this kind of thing if you want to keep things easy. I think that knot is actually called a cow hitch knot, but it may have other names, I'm not sure. Now for barrel knots, you're going to need something tubular in shape, like a straw or a metal bead of some sort. I like to use these thin straws. I got this one at a coffee shop, I think. It's not as wide as a regular straw, it's a little bit thinner. So let me show you how to do this. I'm going to slide it through the loop like this and pull. Now I want one side to be longer than the other, but not that much longer. Maybe 3 inches, something like that. And I want the longer end to be on top. So this is the longer end. And now I'm going to place my straw on top of both pieces like this. take the top piece, the longer one, and I'm going to go behind, and now I'm going to go around about 3 times towards the pendant. So that's what we have. And now I'm going to grab the wraps with my index finger and my thumb. I'm going to take this end. This is the end that created the wraps. And I'm going to go through the straw. Let me just pull it all the way through. So there are my wraps. And now I'm going to slide them towards the pendant. I'm pulling the leather cord with these fingers right here, and I'm pushing with my thumb and my index finger. So I'm doing 2 things at once. Now what I like to do is to roll the wraps, because that makes them nice and uniform. And I'm going to move these 2 pieces so that they're parallel with my mat and they're sitting on top of that pendant properly. I hope that makes sense. Let me pull each one because that tightens the knot. And I'm going to roll them again to get them nice and uniform. I think that's pretty good. What do you think, guys? I really like the look of the barrel knots, I really do. I think they're very, very neat looking. So that's what we have. I think it turned out okay. Now later on, I may add some glue in between the wraps to make it more secure, but you really don't need to, especially when you're using this kind of leather cord, which is very rustic looking. That's good enough, I think. So let me show you how to do this. Actually, before I start, let me just make sure both ends are the same. I need to trim that one a little bit. You want both ends the same. So I'm going to start by adding one of these barrel beads or tube beads. And now a dangle. Let me just slide it down. By the way, the reason I wanted the loops to be big on the dangles is because I wanted them to actually spin around on that leather cord. I think it's a nice look. I didn't want them to be too stationary. I want the dangles to have some movement. And now I'm going to slide on one of these spacer beads and another dangle. And this time I'm grabbing a black onyx one and another spacer bead. And now one of these. So I'm alternating between the green ones and the black ones. Another spacer bead. And a black onyx bead. And a spacer bead. And now a green one. Let me just show you what we have so far. I think these beads go really well with the gold. So now I'm going to slide on one of these tubular beads. And I'm going to repeat the same pattern. So I'm loading a green one, a spacer bead, a black one, a spacer bead, a green one, a spacer bead, a black one, another spacer bead, and a green one, and a tube bead. So that's what we have so far. It's pretty easy. And if I had more of these beads, I'd add another set, but unfortunately the box only came with 6 of these. So I'm going to stop right here, and now all we need to do is knot it off, and it's going to be a simple knot this time. And I don't want these beads to be too punched up, because otherwise the dangles won't be able to spin. Just going to take the end through the loop like this, slide my knot down to where I want it. Let me just take a look. That looks pretty good, I think. And now I'm just going to tighten it up. Now if you make a mistake with the spacing, let me just show you how to undo that knot. I'm going to use these pliers. These are my round nose pliers. I find these work better than the other ones. And you just undo it like that. So let me go ahead and slide it down and tighten it up. And that's what we have. I think it's super adorable, it really is. So now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. As you can see, I've completed the other side. I'm pretty happy with it. So now we're going to go ahead and create the adjustable slip knots. Now I did make sure that both ends were the same exact length, but I'm going to double check it again just to make sure. And one is slightly longer than the other one, but not by much. So let me show you how easy this is. I'm going to make a little knot on this end, but I'm not going to tighten it. I'm going to leave it loose like this. Let me just pull it through a little bit more. That's good enough. And I'm going to take this end and I'm going to slide it through like this. And I'm going to create another knot on this end. Like this. So we have one on this side and one on this side. And now we're going to go ahead and tighten the knots. And this part's kind of important. You want to make sure that both ends are the same length. In other words, from the knot to the end of the leather cord needs to be the same on both sides. So let me go ahead and tighten it. You don't want it too tight though, because then you can't slide the knot. And let me go ahead and tighten this one. Let me just check the length of the ends. You want them to be the same. I need to pull it just a little bit more. This is probably the trickiest part about this necklace, making sure that the ends are the same length. Let's see. That looks pretty good. Let me tighten this one a little bit more. And that's basically it, guys. It doesn't get any easier than that. It's actually very simple. So now I'm going to embellish the end, and I'm going to use a crimp bead cover, And I know some of you are going to say, no, you can't do that because the crimp bead cover is going to cut into the leather cord. But you know what? So will other cord endings because usually they're metal. And of course, if you use cord end tips, you have to use glue, and glue deteriorates with time. So it's going to be one of two evils and you're going to have to choose. I've used cord end tips many times before, but today I'm going to show you how to attach a crimp bead cover. So here's one and here's another one. Let me just show you how to do this. I'm going to slide the leather cord into it. Let me just pull it out a little bit. You definitely want to slide it all the way in into the crimp bead cover like this. And now I'm going to use my crimping pliers to close it. And that bites into the leather cord a little bit. These pliers are actually called crimp cover closers, and I like to use these because they really do create a nice round shape. Let me just place it inside like this. And I'm going around the whole bead to get a nice round shape. That's good enough. And now using my flush cutters, I'm going to snip off the end. And that's basically it. And it's on there pretty good. It doesn't get any easier than that. So let me do the same thing to this side. So both ends are done now, and this is what it looks like when it's shorter. Of course, to lengthen it, you would just pull on each end like this. Let me just take it all the way to the top. So now we have a longer necklace. And that's what's so neat about this method. You can adjust it to whatever length you feel like wearing for the day. And like I said in the intro, I am going to model it for you. Let me just see how big this is. It's about 5 millimeters. These are 5 millimeters when they're closed, but they're 6 millimeters when they're open. And I'm not sure how they're listed online. I actually got these on Amazon. The only thing you have to worry about is to make sure that this hole is big enough to accommodate a 2 millimeter piece of leather cord. You don't want it too small because then it'll definitely cut your leather cord. You want it to bite into the leather cord, but not too much. Just enough so it's on there securely. So now we're going to move on to the shorter necklace. Let me get the materials for that. Here's the shorter necklace. And as you can see, I've already attached some dangles, but I'm going to show you how to do that. It's very, very simple, guys. And that's why I thought I'd attach them ahead of time to save time. I need to add one more black bead on this side, but I want to go over a couple of things before I do that. Of course, the first thing you want to do is find the center of your chain. To find the center of the chain is very easy. So before you attach the dangles, you want to find the center link. And I usually bring my ends together like this. And I slide a head pin through each link at the end, like this. And then you just find the center by doing this. And that's all there is to it. It's pretty easy. So you attach your first dangle on the center link, and then you work your way out. The other thing you want to do is to make sure that you attach the dangles on the same side of each link. And these are oval links, as you can see. So you want to pay attention to that because you don't want to have one dangle on one side and the next dangle on the other side, because then it definitely won't sit properly. So let me show you how to do that. I have a ball head pin with a black onyx bead on it. I'm going to grab it with my round nose pliers, like this, bend it, switch to this part of the pliers, wrap the tail around the nose of the pliers, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back, and I'm going to open this loop. As you can see, this dangle is hanging on this side of the link, and that link is parallel to my mat. The next link is vertical, so I don't want to use that. The next link is parallel. I could potentially use that link, but I want more spacing between my dangles. So I'm going to go to the next parallel link, which is this one right here. And I'm going to slide my pin through the link like this. Actually, let me open it a little bit more to make it easier. And it's a good thing that I did that because I just realized that I should have worked on this end. That's where the green bead is, and the next one's going to be black. Let me go ahead and slide it through. There it is. I'm going to grab it with my pliers, like that. Grab the end and do a couple of wraps. Snip off the excess. Tuck that end in. And that's all there is to it. Very, very easy. So now we just need to attach the clasp, and I'm going to get it from the Finding Starter Kit. Each of the Curated Bead Boxes comes with one of these, and they definitely do come in handy. Here's my clasp. It also came with some 6mm jump rings. I'm going to use one of them. I also need some smaller jump rings, and the Finding Starter Kit didn't have the small ones. So here are two from my stash. Let me go ahead and open one up. Slide the clasp into it. Slide the chain into it as well. Close up the jump ring. Let me go ahead and open up this one. Slide the chain into it. And this jump ring. Close it up. Let me just make sure the large jump ring is closed as well. And that's basically it. Of course, the dangles will hang properly once you put the necklace on. But anyway, I think you get the idea. I think it's super cute, and it's going to look really nice with the other necklace. So let me go get it, and I'll arrange both of them on my mat. Here are both necklaces. I think it's a nice set. They definitely look great together, but I think I'm going to wear this one long. I think I prefer it long, but that's the nice thing about having adjustable knots. You have choices. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you have time, I'd love to hear your feedback. If you could leave some comments down below, I'd really appreciate it. As always, I'm going to go ahead and put these on and show you what they look like. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.